Hey, what's up? It's your Uncle Rob. How's it going? Yeah, come on in the booth. Have a seat. We saved you a corner spot there. Yeah, go ahead. Grab yourself a mozzarella stick, please. I'm about to order another round of Dollaritas or whatever they're called. Is that Applebee's? Chili's? I don't even fucking know. It doesn't matter. This is all fake anyway. We're not really in Applebee's. You guys know that. You're a smart audience. I trust you. Anyway, before we dive into this week's episode 70, by the way, so we're still doing it. How about that shit? Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We do it for you guys. We love you. Before we dive into this week's episode, it's going to be a little different this week. We have a very special guest in the show. Her name is Stacy Gioia. If that last name sounds familiar to you, you know why we have her on the show. Of course, her family is legendary in the super modified world. They ran Oswego Speedway for many, many years and are still heavily involved up there. And also just a great person. We had a really good time hanging with her. Such a good time that we ended up talking for about 3 hours. So in respect to the conversation we had with her and some of the stories she told, especially towards the end of the show, we're going to split this episode into 2 parts. So this week is part 1. We were already planning on taking next week off anyway for the NASCAR break. But since we got so much good shit this week, we're going to give you a little bonus episode with Stacy talk about her family and stories from Oswego Speedway, the Steel Palace, next week. But anyway, without further ado, here's part 1 of episode 70 of Meet Me at Applebee's. Let her rip, baby.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened. And then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your #1 unrefined motorsports podcast. And it's Rob, Brian, and Ashley here once again, but we've got a guest at the booth this week, Stacy Gioia. I don't even know how to exactly title you, but Stacy grew up in Oswego Speedway. Let's just say that. Her long family tradition of all her family members racing, and she's worked at the track and still works at the track, and she's on the show to talk about that with us this week. So, folks, how are y'all doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Definitely. I have health insurance for the first time in like a year, so I can stop.
That's great.
Being so calculated about the decisions I make with my life. I can just kind of go off now. So
just triple ripping Zins.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be double lipping 6s from here on out now that I'm in the good graces of the American healthcare system. How about you, True Love? How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm here. I still need some Tums. I was telling the guys that before we started.
Well, you can drive to the store. We're going to be a little bit here, I think.
I only have the dual kind, and I can't do that and talk at the same time.
No. And Stacy, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Very happy to be here. I'm doing great. Happy to be able to...
I think
Sorry,
somebody
Brian,
just flew out of their car. Never mind. I got to turn the TV off.
What I usually do. Yeah.
Is that your TV on in the background, Brian?
Yeah,
Come on, we're trying to have family dinner here.
Sorry.
I even muted the Yankees game.
Damn.
See?
I thought somebody just flew out of the car, and it was just a fender.
Yeah,
Never mind.
that's fair.
Somebody shot over the cushion there, which happens at high limit races.
Should we reschedule?
Are you guys busy?
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Like, are we intruding on something here?
No, never. But
this is just our soap operas.
It's true. Yeah, our stories are on. But yeah,
if I can't watch my soaps while we record, then
full volume with the fan going. Yeah. Well, there is some racing on. We're watching High Limit right now, but that doesn't come across on a podcast because there's no video. But we did watch a lot of NASCAR racing and other shit this weekend. NASCAR, of course, back in Indianapolis, both at IRP and the big track, the greatest race course in all of the world. No offense, Stacy. Oswego's cool, but Indianapolis is Christ Almighty, in my opinion. But But yeah, lots of racing this weekend. What'd you guys think?
So I didn't watch much of it, I will say. I was in Oswego at Stacy on Friday, so I kind of just was like looking at my phone occasionally just to see what the hell was going on in the truck race. And then even Saturday, I only saw, went to dinner with my dad, and I turned on I caught the last like 15 laps of the Xfinity race, which is amazing. And then driving home Sunday... Yeah, really, exactly. And then driving home Sunday, I got home in time just for like the last 20 laps of the Cup race, even though I was like, half
Which
paying
was like
attention
3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, we'll get into it.
You caught the last 2 laps, essentially. So.
More or less. So, True Love, how much? You probably watch more than any of us, I'm assuming. Although I don't know about Rob.
I watched ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup.
Yeah, you watched everything. So, what did we miss?
Well, ARCA and Trucks were at IRP. Mm-hmm. Nothing really happened in ARCA. I thought it was interesting that the ARCA race was 200 laps and the truck race was 200 laps.
Yeah.
Wow.
They ran those on the same day.
Same level of talent.
Yeah, ARCA, who won? Zilich?
Probably. That sounds
yeah,
right.
Not a surprise.
It was just him and Sawalich battling the whole time, which was a mouthful for the announcers.
Yeah, that's a lot of consonants to get through.
Yeah, and Tony, what's her name? Tony.
Bredinger.
Oh yeah, Wallace Allen completely destroyed her, right?
Yeah, she had a wreck, and someone ARCA braked into her.
Yeah, classic.
That's it for that. Trucks, Hyman Eckes battling. Ty Majeski won, and then Hyman Eckes had a little calm spat.
A lover's spat.
Afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Hyman being pretty bitchy on pit road on Instagram, which was funny to me. But the only thing I watched out of pretty much anything other than the Cup race and the short track stuff I was consuming was I watched truck qualifying for some fucking reason.
Oh.
And man, IRP is such a cool track. It really is. I almost wish they'd just take everybody there instead. Just folks sliding around, multiple lanes, just a killer fucking facility. And qualifying was even entertaining. So, and congrats to Roger Carruth for getting a pole, of course.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say about those 2 races.
They happened, and
They happened.
Yeah.
Xfinity was the best of the weekend. So
Yeah. I had that on MRN or whatever radio, IMS radio on the way up to Monadnock over the weekend, and hit my cell service dropped with like 10 laps to go, so I had no idea what happened until I got up to New Hampshire. But goddamn, what a finish.
Yeah, oh god. I mean, I would put that up there. Aside from the couple photo finishes, I feel like that's probably the best NASCAR finish of the season this year. Just was so entertaining. Like, I did not see Eric Almirola coming up at the end there. Like, I thought it was just going to be a battle between you, because you saw Herbst coming, and I didn't think he was going to have enough time, and then I think he got to him at, like 2 to go, and then all of a sudden on the white, there's fucking Almirola out of nowhere, and thankfully Herbst got past him.
Thank God.
Unfortunately didn't spin him out of the way, but at least he got past him. So it's very good to see him. Like Herbst is all right. He's starting to grow on me. He was a guy that wrecked a ton forever, and only the last couple seasons he seemed like he's finally gotten things turned around a bit. So
yeah, he's starting to beat the spoiled, talentless rich kid accusations. A little bit.
For sure. Yeah. But he's also, like, he doesn't seem like a douche or anything, Like, he seems all right. Like, there's other drivers that have attitudes and stuff, and I just have never gotten that vibe from him, so.
Other than Hannah Newhouse calling him a douche on TV, but that was...
Well,
That was a different story.
I guess they all have their moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't really feel one way or another about Herbst. So I was just really happy that Almirola didn't win. I think
for sure.
Everyone was, so. And then SVG got a 4th place on Oval.
He did,
so
finally.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Oh, he's great. He's definitely one of our favorites, I would say. And I don't know if this necessarily means he might actually contend for the title, but it's a good sign. I mean, he's still got a bunch of races left to continue to improve on the ovals. Well, I guess we'll see if his luck continues to turn around. But I mean,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's leading the playoff standings, which doesn't really mean anything, but
yeah,
still.
The most confusing playoffs to ever have existed.
Yeah. Only getting muddied up further and further by the tower every week, but
I will say that I wish his fire suit every week was the Wendy's apron fire suit.
yes.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
Because interviewing him with like the name tag, oh my god, I was dying.
It's so good.
It's just so perfect. You just can't make it up.
I don't even think they have Wendy's in New Zealand, do they?
Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
It makes it funnier, but
Yeah.
yeah, SVG rules. And I was stoked to see him do well in Indy. And I guess that's not that big of a surprise. The road course ringer kind of guys tend to do well at the places you actually have to brake and shift, and that's Indianapolis in a stock car. So
I just looked this up. Wendy's is not yet in Australia, but there is a Wendy's Milk Bar, which is an ice cream place that's been in Australia, New Zealand for 30 years. So that's confusing.
So is it just Frosties that they sell?
It's just hamburgers. They blend them.
they blend them up. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they like add the fries and
It's a
see
smoothie
that.
then.
Yeah.
That's my best Oz accent right there. It's not very good. Yeah.
it was something.
Thank you.
I wouldn't buy saucy nugs from you, but... it was,
Fancy some nuggets
solid.
then?
No, that was worse.
All right, governor.
Okay.
Now, I think you're in England.
Yeah.
Now you're selling us baked beans for breakfast.
Yeah. What you want that shit?
So I guess that
Xfinity
brings
race,
us to
very good. Yeah, I didn't
Yes.
realize Eric Almirola was still around after him getting in a fight with Bubba Wallace, but I guess he was. So
Well, no, they didn't fire him. They just indefinitely suspended him for
put him in
like a race or
timeout
two.
for a minute.
sent him off the
So
team
what do we
challenge for
think-
2 weeks.
What do we think he said, though? Do we think he said the word? Like,
The Kyle Larson word. I don't.
Be surprised.
Yeah, I hope he did, because that just makes it funnier. Because it's apparently, so from a couple people that we know in the NASCAR world, he is not well liked in the garage area, and he and Bubba already have
outside of the
somewhat of a
garage.
history.
Yeah.
Or outside, yes, but yeah, I don't know. He's definitely seems like one of those guys who he's super Christian and talks about God all the time, but once the cameras aren't around him, he's probably a totally different person from all that we've heard.
does
So,
God
Sunday money
not
guy.
allow like black people to work or something? Like, can they not be talented? I just don't understand.
well, God
really?
only cares about white people.
Yeah.
if-
Well,
if
and
you're
God
in
didn't allow
America,
Eric
so.
Almirola to be all that talented either, so I'm sure it has something to do with
It's true.
that. But
Yeah.
It's a little salty.
I did get to see one of his wins, though. That was kind of fun. Eric
sorry.
Almirola, that is. Yeah. And it was gifted to him, so there you go. God works in mysterious ways.
There was a big argument about gifted wins this weekend.
Oh yeah, well we're just about to get into that. So
I mean, that was pretty much
I didn't even
motorsports in
say
general.
anything.
Hell of a segue, by the way.
so I guess we might as well talk about Sunday. So it was the first 400 at the Oval in 4 years, I guess, and from what I saw and what everybody else was saying, it pretty much was everybody expected it to be. I think maybe people thought the new car would perform a little bit differently than the older ones have, but I don't think it did necessarily.
That was a dumb thing to think.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of hoped that, but yeah, it's
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't
like
know,
everybody
man.
said.
I thought it was a fine race. I really enjoyed it. I always liked Indianapolis. Again, I think the prestige is a big part of the draw of going there.
Yeah.
NASCAR has been going there for a long time, especially on the oval, and it's a tough race to win. Like, it's tough to pass even when the cars aren't fucking glued to the asphalt. So I thought that was fine. The strategy's always intriguing, and we're actually about to see a fantastic finish between
we were.
Brad Keselowski saving the shit out of his fuel and Kyle Larson pulling some IndyCar moves on people. It was awesome. I don't really think there's
I was
much to
gonna
complain
bring
about.
that up. Like, people were talking about if his experience affected it. I was just going to ask your guys'
It
opinion.
certainly seems like the way he was shifting and the way he was building his runs and that sort of thing. Granted, it helps when the rest of the field is going like 65 miles an hour, so that probably had something to do with it as well.
Yeah.
But some of the ways he was mapping it out.
It's like apples and oranges he's racing.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of it would actually transfer.
Yeah.
I'm sure it helped a tiny bit. Any
Yeah.
experience is good experience. So,
Yeah.
I want to say
But yeah,
Larson even said that the car amazingly didn't drive too much differently from an Indy car, except for the fact that it's a lot slower, just in the way you have to shift and that sort of thing, which is fucking nuts to me. But I don't know. That was going to be a really great finish, and I think we all would have been pretty happy if it weren't for a couple factors, which I guess we'll get to now.
I mean, yeah. Let's let True Love get her anger out of the way with the Chase
Oh,
deal.
which
because
part?
Yeah.
well,
Oh,
the
Chase.
first
Okay, let's.
yeah.
Well, that which was bullshit, by the way. Complete bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. I don't even know what to say because it's just such a. It was bullshit because, they showed footage in the broadcast of them from 4 years ago where they were doing the exact same moves and no one got penalized. Like Chase was the first one to get penalized.
Yeah. Well, I think
And
more importantly, Austin Dillon did it. Kyle Larson did it.
Ty Dillon did it.
Or Ty
yeah.
Dillon, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally in the same race. And the 9 was the only one that got pulled. So I don't know. It's
Well, Brad also got the penalty. That's why he was
Yeah,
very
he
upset
did.
on his radio
that's
too.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Brad
That is
on the radio
also
was
something
like,
I can
read,
bring up later.
Yes.
Yeah, Brad was like, I read the damn email 20 times. So, Brad strikes me as someone who would be very, very thorough with making sure he knows.
He
for
reads
sure.
those fucking emails. You better believe it.
Some of the guys probably can't even read.
It's true. Brad can.
But I've never heard Chase that irate on his radio ever.
Yeah.
So that was a fun listen.
Yeah, his radio was very, very funny this weekend. Not to wallow in his sorrows or anything, but I very much enjoyed the swearing. It was good.
And to be fair, he also thankfully at least turned it around and got a good finish out of it. So I mean, his day wasn't totally ruined.
Oh, he almost didn't.
Yeah, well, that's true, but yeah.
Ryan Priest ran out of gas, and Chase almost punted him in the next state, but,
Well, I have something to say about that too later.
We're almost there.
So that was the one big issue, and then obviously, I guess it's the end. Really, was all of the rest of the controversy. There was that last restart where Keselowski pulled up at the very end, and then Blaney should have been the control car, but at least from what SMT data says, it seems like Larson was the one who actually got the jump. And that's one of those things where, people thought, oh, they should have re-racked them. They should have, let everybody choose. And I guess I could go either way on that. To me, that was a far less egregious call than the caution at the very end. But
Yeah, I could
I don't know,
let that
what do
I
you
feel
guys
like
think?
Blaney should have at least been able to move down at that point instead of Larson
Yeah.
being able to move
But
up.
those aren't the rules, though. If he did, he would have got sent to the back. So,
Yeah, but do they really have any rules for
well, that's a different
the
conversation.
car pulling off
Yeah.
front row?
I mean, there is a rule that if the control car or anybody pulls off, the whole row moves up, which is why Larson was able to,
Well,
legally
that should be
jump, I
amended.
guess.
Yeah.
Which is how he was able to get ahead of Blaney, was because he was already going 2 or 3
Yeah.
miles an hour faster just by virtue of trying to catch the front row.
Yeah.
Because they fired at the same time, so it's perfectly legal, but it's just not. If I was Ryan Blaney, I'd be rip shit too. But
Yeah. Who's already a spicy radio guy, so
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
yeah,
Yeah. But I think that the thing that we're all, and I would say about 90% of people who watch the race are in agreement with, because even Larson fans felt this way, is
Yeah.
that last spin with Priest, that should have been a caution and a re-rack, 100%. The fact, the Elton Sawyer did the no press interview afterwards explaining the deal, and he was
Yeah,
giving
that
it
just
the
made
old
it
college
worse.
try. Like, fuck off, man. Like every single person watching that
man.
race was like, why are they throwing the caution? Why aren't they throwing the caution? And then they didn't throw it until right after Larson crossed the line.
I literally lost my voice screaming at the TV that last lap to throw the fucking caution. That's why I wasn't responding to group chat. I was so irate.
Yeah.
I texted Brian and was like, why did I just waste a half hour waiting for that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's NASCAR. Sometimes you'll get three cars a millisecond away from each other. Sometimes you'll get that. So,
I don't know, man. Like, I am a big time Kyle Larson fan, but I was even like Brian said, that's pretty obvious what needs to happen when you have a guy with a car that they literally just introduced a part that will raise the fucking car off the ground because they bottom out and they can't move.
Exactly.
They made a big deal about this fucking technological advance they made that's not here yet.
I don't even think it's not even on the cars yet. I think
that's what I'm saying. To have that happen, to admit that, we're fully aware this is a problem everywhere we fucking go, and to just be like, oh, I guess we didn't think he was going to stop back there. It's like, yes, you fucking did. You made a part to fix it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But
how could we have known what would happen?
Yeah, oh shucks, But it's for me as a Larson fan. Like, again, I was real stoked to see him win. I think he would have gotten it anyway. He was definitely probably the fastest car.
Though.
But I don't. For me, I don't want to see people get wins out of situations like that.
Yeah. It feels tainted.
It does, yeah. And I don't think
baby asterisk next to it.
Yeah.
But in saying that, though, everybody's saying, oh, they gave Larson that win or they gave Hendrick that win. And, like, I could go either way on that. I mean, yes, it's the 30th anniversary of Jeff Gordon winning that. And Hendrick's, I don't know how many fucking wins or some anniversary or something.
500.
I don't know. It was, there you go.
Hendrick, every week there's like a different anniversary celebration for something.
Well, I mean, they are the
I sell those diecasts.
Yeah, exactly.
I think aside from Childress and the Wood Brothers at this point, they're like the oldest team in NASCAR. So there's that.
I know, it just seems like what race was it a few months ago that they made like a huge deal out of it?
It was Martinsville.
But then Rick Hendrick wasn't even there because he just had surgery or something. Was that?
Yeah. That sounds about right. But and at the same time, though, you got to look at it this way, like, Larson's definitely not NASCAR's golden boy. He made the biggest PR mistake in decades. During COVID, and then he talks about how other races outside of NASCAR he'd rather win. Then you talk about the Indy 500 stuff that pissed off NASCAR.
And then he announced that he was coming back to Indy during his Victory Lane interview, which I thought was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And now NASCAR gets to promote him as the Brickyard 400 winner when he goes to run the 500 next year. So it worked out for them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Worked out for NASCAR.
Yeah. There's no conspiracy here, but I'll tell you what happened, and
there's conspiracy on my part.
This is, and again, this is from the very top. I called some people at NASCAR. This is what they told me. That didn't happen, but this is my opinion. They saw that half the field was about to run out of gas, and they knew it was going to be a shit show, and they knew they were going to get another replay of what happened at Nashville, and Zane Smith was going to get another second place, and some jackass was going to get a win like Cody Ware or something like that. And they figured, well, we'll just call it now. We got to get Law and Order back on TV. And so they let it happen. That's what happened.
I kind of felt that way too, that they were like, do we really have to throw a caution for this guy and do this whole thing again?
It's like, the track's 2.5 miles long or 2 miles. We don't really have to do this. We can just end it and go home.
Yeah.
I think that's what they did. And that's not correct either, but I guess Elton Sawyer's got a bedtime or something, or a tea time or something to get to.
It gives, thankfully, we've got 2 weeks to stew over it and eventually forget about it. So,
I'll never forget.
I will say, in the heat of the moment, it is very difficult to make decisions, game time decisions like that.
I believe that, yeah. I believe that. It sounds like you definitely have some experience with that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the same as the rain, when it would rain.
Oh, yeah.
That was so stressful in terms of what's the right decision. Do we wait it out?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and I'm so glad that now when it rains, I just get to go home.
Yeah, I'm sure. A lot less stressful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say, for the record, that the Priest accident was actually triggered by LaJoy. So
Corey LaJoy made Ryan Priest run out of gas.
yeah, Priest ran out of gas, and then Chase slowed up because Priest slowed up, and then LaJoy rammed his ass into Chase and pushed him into Priest. So
That doesn't sound like him.
Yeah, it's really out of character for him.
Let's not forget that after the race, Christopher Bell and Bubba and LaJoy ran out of gas, and other drivers came to their aid, except for LaJoy, who was left on the track to wait for a tow truck. So
on the biggest track, almost, that NASCAR goes to.
yeah, so that was great.
Even though he had a at least for him, a decent day, he still did not finish ahead of Carson Hocevar. So there's that.
Correct. And speaking of Kosovar, it's a shitty nickname, but we'll throw it out there and we'll test it. Let's lay off this dude for Indy here. Everyone was trying to jump on him and blame him for all the accidents he caused and shit, but what is he supposed to do, especially with the wreck that Blaney was involved in? It was like his car just supposed to magically fucking disappear when Blaney chops down into the lane below him. Like, come on. It wasn't his fault. It's where he was. He's the only guy who held his line out of that whole thing. So let's give Carson a little break. I'm sure he'll do something to deserve everyone's anger at some point in the near future, but this is not it. Any takers on that? Just me?
I didn't even see it, so I'll take your word for it.
I didn't see it, but I will say that it's super easy to criticize it from Twitter and what you think you saw when you've never even sat in a race car.
True, yeah.
Compared to in the moment, which is a constant theme in Formula One.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, we might as well use this time to segue into Formula One because
I'm excited to talk about this.
That's 2 segues I've pulled off, by the way.
There you go. So normally we don't ever talk about F1 other than to insult it, but Stacy is the F1 friend that I've mentioned on the show before that I talk a little bit of F1 about, and I know there was a bunch of shit that happened this weekend. So take it away, Stacy. Let's tell us about it.
Okay, the year was 2012. I'm just kidding.
You probably could take it back that far if you wanted to.
There is a lot. I gotta try to figure it out. Okay. So Red Bull's no longer the fastest car. And thank God.
Yeah.
And Max Verstappen had a complete meltdown through the entire race, screaming at his engineer, telling him to shut the fuck up. And so then, in the midst of all of this, of course, Max tries to pass Lewis Hamilton. He locks up. Lewis turns into the corner, hits Max, and Max goes flying.
Yeah.
And Max says, Lewis turned during braking. And he said, you need to get on the radio and you need to tell them that he was moving during braking. And his engineer, GP, said, I am absolutely not going to do that. You are childish. You are being childish right now. That's literally what he said to him.
That's amazing.
And it's crystal clear because F1 radios are so nice.
Yeah. But, so then he consistently blamed Lewis for it. Because he's never learned how to race wheel to wheel, ever. Because 3 weeks ago he was racing with Lando Norris, and they also wrecked.
That's a fact.
But even with the stewards, Max was very insistent that it was Lewis's fault that Lewis turned into him. Lewis called it a racing accident, and they did not give anyone a penalty because they said that Lewis could have done more to avoid the collision. Even though they checked the data and he turned the same way at that turn every single lap. So even though it was Max's fault, Lewis should have still done better. So Twitter is really harping in on how Max consistently doesn't get penalties and the blame always falls to everyone else, which is why he continues to drive that way.
Yeah. It's always interesting to me to see someone who's had a dominant car for so long. I think Sebastian Vettel got a lot of the same criticism when he was at Red Bull, that he couldn't handle traffic, or he couldn't handle being in battle because he was always up front. And I think Lewis even got some of that when he was at Mercedes for a little bit, even though everyone saw that wasn't true. But,
Fernando said that about Lewis like 2 years ago.
Yeah, which is very clearly bullshit. But
Racist.
And probably racist.
Well, Fernando's fans were the ones that dressed up in monkey suits.
Oh.
And this was back when Lewis first started, they wore shirts that said Hamilton's family.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well,
That's right.
at least that hasn't happened in NASCAR. I'll say that
not
for all the
once.
Bubba
There
haters.
was
we know
the
of.
noose incident
Well, yeah, but
that
I mean,
people
nobody was
think
bringing.
is like, that's true.
Yeah, nobody brought nooses to the track, thankfully. Although nobody could because
No, we
nobody
know
was
of.
there.
Yeah. And then, so then that was like one big drama of the day, but the other drama was McLaren, which is always something. So they have two drivers, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, who are pretty evenly matched, but Lando has the attention of all the, like, probably, like, those guys you went to school with that, like, barely graduated but thought that they were super cool, and you just wanted to punch them in the face.
Right.
Like, that's one demographic. And then the other one is young girls. And so, like, he gets voted driver of the day every week, no matter, even if he wrecks out, he gets driver of the day.
Oh, is that a
They just
fan
vote.
vote that they do?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, Lando got qualified on pole, and he's known for, like, bottling poles. He has a 0% conversion to win rate. So, first turn, there is a quote-unquote glitch in his shifting system that doesn't allow him to start properly. So Oscar takes the lead from him, and Oscar, this is only his second season, so he leads most of the race comfortably. They undercut Oscar and pit Lando first, and then the race continues on. Getting towards the end of the race for the second pit stop, they say to Lando they're going to pit him first to protect against Lewis, who was like 10 seconds back.
Right.
So they undercut Oscar again as the race leader, and the next lap Oscar pits. Oscar's stop takes a little bit longer, and suddenly Lando's the leader.
Yeah.
Lando would not give the position back.
Good.
No.
I mean, Formula One's different, I know, but this is just my NASCAR
Yeah.
brain. But
No, I know you're NASCAR. It is completely different. The thing is, like, it was like a hostage negotiation on his radio because, like, they were like, okay, at your earliest convenience, you have to switch with Oscar, and he just like didn't reply. So
at
they
your
were like,
earliest
radio
convenience,
check?
is that the actual quote?
Yeah.
Do they train these people at
so-
like Chick-fil-A or something?
Which is funny because Nico Rosberg, who literally lost his best friend over a championship, told the team principal after, he was like, never use that language again.
Wow.
He's like, you have to be very clear and direct.
At your earliest convenience.
Yeah. So then Lando he pulled like a 6-second gap to Oscar, and he's like, why doesn't he catch up to me then? And they're like, Lando, like, remember what we talked about this morning, blah, blah, blah. So he finally, with like 2 laps to go, lets Oscar by. And then Oscar ends up winning. It's his first win in Formula One.
Yeah.
Lando throws an absolute additional meltdown. He gets in the cool down room. He throws the second place hat on the floor. And this is like a 24-year-old man, like definite rich boy vibes. Lewis Hamilton
Lewis is just sitting there in the corner, right?
Yeah, and he's like, wow, you guys
saw the one clip of Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are fast. And he's like, well, you were fast 7 years ago. Now we're fast. Lewis was like, I was complimenting you. Like,
were you born 7 years ago?
Yes.
No, Lewis literally said to him, where were you 7 years ago?
Like a middle school playground.
Amazing.
So then they do like the podium, right? And then when they go to like spray the champagne, Lando walks past Oscar and goes and hits Lewis. So Oscar's first win, the first like 5 seconds, no one's even spraying him with champagne.
Oh.
Isn't that so sad? So the asterisk thing reminded me, because like his win, if Lando had won, that would also be an asterisk.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if he had passed him earlier, then he could have spent the last 15 laps trying to catch him and make it like a real race.
Right. But instead he decided to be a brat.
Yeah, so Lando and Max are best friends, which is pretty... explains a lot.
Yeah. Man, the team orders thing is something I've never been able to get over. I haven't watched Formula One much this season, but I definitely grew up a big fan, and this just reminds me of, like, anytime it happens, it's a bummer, but this reminds me of when Rubens Barrichello got a win on accident. When they were trying to do this ceremonial thing at Ferrari where Schumacher and Barrichello would come to the line side by side, and then Barrichello accidentally like just got ahead of him by a few inches, and he got the win officially.
Yeah.
I think that was in Indianapolis, I think. But maybe it wasn't. I can't remember anymore. My brain is fried, but...
Damn.
Yeah, weird. That's just a dynamic I've never been comfortable with, but I guess that's, you get into NASCAR first, or IndyCar first, or whatever, and it's... I'll never be able to wrap my head around that, but that's brutal. That's a brutal way to win and a brutal way to lose too. So.
Yeah. So now the girlies are fighting each other on Twitter.
Oh.
And obviously, like, Max's fans are fighting anyone at any given time. Mm-hmm. And then on Twitter, this like quote from Lewis pops up where someone's like, where do you keep all your trophies? And he's like, I actually, like, there's this one storage company where I keep all my trophies. And he's like, at this point, I'm using most of their storage. He's like, I should just buy the company. And then just like laughs to himself. Everyone else is like at each other's throats.
I love old man Lewis Hamilton, even though he's only like, what, 30 years old or however the fuck?
30. He's 39.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes me feel old and young at the same time. So.
I know, right?
Thank you,
200 out of 345 of his races were podium finishes.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And I still think
share the podium with these literal children.
Yeah, what does that feel like? Probably like
squabbling.
50 years old and you're racing street stocks, I guess is probably kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, you get beat by a 12-year-old, which is what I've seen before. So.
There's been a compilation of like Lewis on the podium for like 7 people's first win. Like he was on the podium for like all of them. George Russell, Oscar, I can't think of all of them now, but there was like a great number of them that he was on the podium for.
Insane. Well, he's probably got a few more left in him, so maybe I'll have to start
He's
watching
going to
again.
Ferrari.
Now that it's true. Yeah, well, that'll be good or bad. It'll be entertaining no matter what.
I don't think he'll let them be bad. I think that he's also going to give Charles backup so that Charles can be more vocal, although Charles got his TP fired a couple years ago, so he is pretty vocal.
Yeah.
Who's now back with Audi.
Oh, right. Audi just hired Ferrari's old GM too, right?
Yeah, that's
Binotto. Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, that's the one that Charles
the
got
guy.
fired. Yeah.
I didn't realize Charles got him fired. That's crazy.
Charles,
that's power.
So, Ferrari lives and dies by Charles, and there were a couple really bad calls for him a few times in a row, and then Charles voiced his displeasure, and there was a picture of Mattia shaking his finger at Charles.
Oh yeah.
And Charles went straight to whoever, and he was like, "I will leave."
Damn.
That's the rumor, at least. But
I wish this stuff was out in the open in the NASCAR world, because then we could have gotten to see the Bubba Wallace Eric Almirola fight. So
I know. I can find out anything.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, F1 is surprisingly open about the business and the mechanics of the things that are happening behind the scenes. So I do appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. And the leaks are usually incredibly accurate.
Yeah.
Like the whole Red Bull drama with Christian Horner.
Oh,
the leaks were coming from a Dutch source, which means that they were Jos Verstappen.
Yeah. That guy's sinister.
But I guess Max also said that he's just going to start doing the strategy himself too in his car.
Oh.
He said he might as well just start doing that since they can't even do that. So things are not super great at Red Bull right now.
Yeah.
I will say, even though I don't, it sucks to see somebody like Max win every race. He hasn't won every race in a minute, but hearing all this stuff about how he grew up and
his dad leaving him at a gas station.
Abused.
Yes, abused and all these asshole fucking teen people around him, and then I see he's a cat guy. It's like, he's probably not that bad of an actual person. I think maybe, but I don't know. Not to say I like him.
I kind of go back and forth on him because I do try to take into account that for Jos, it was unacceptable to finish second.
Yeah.
Max would have to leave his helmet on as a child because no one was allowed to see him cry if he finished
How many
second.
fucking wins did you get, Jos? Get out of here.
He did get lit on fire once. You guys remember that? The big Benetton fire? That was crazy. Yeah.
Actually, if you Google his name, fire is the first thing that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah, look that shit up. It is absolutely insane, and it's a big reason why
race
they don't
wins
refuel
0.
Anymore. Yeah.
Podiums 2.
He has the same amount of Formula One wins as Corey LaJoy.
And me.
And all of us.
And he has more attempted murder charges. What are the chances?
That's a stat.
Yeah, he tried to...
He was a cab driver, wasn't it?
No, he tried to... Well, one of the fathers at the karting track, Jos and his dad beat with a hammer.
Oh.
Jesus.
But then he was in so Max was 4 at that time. And then his girlfriend, he tried to hit with a car.
Oh.
I don't think I like this guy.
You thought Bowman Gray was bad, folks.
No.
Take a look at the
he's
spike
not.
in World F1.
One time, Max's teammate won, and Max finished second, and Jos wouldn't even look at the teammate.
Jesus.
Just sat there. It's insane. It's bad.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, Max's father-in-law isn't allowed in the paddock, so I guess he needs some sort of support.
Yeah. And the cats can't really give him good feedback, so...
Daniel Suarez is marrying into that family officially this weekend.
That's true. Lots of NASCAR weddings coming up.
They're not a good family.
The PKs? Yeah, they're...
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty notorious for not being the nicest people.
Yeah, they actually, well, do you guys know that story? Did Brian tell you that part?
No, I don't think so.
That Nelson Piquet Senior was on a podcast and he called
the slur
Lewis a
thing.
slur.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty famous, or well-known, I guess.
That was
I
like
should
last
say.
year. So he's banned from the paddock, and then all the family came out in support of him. And we're like, we call everyone that.
That's not a defense.
That didn't work for Kyle Larson at all, did it?
No, but I don't know. I can't imagine, like, how it has to feel for Lewis to know that people literally still call him that behind his back.
Well, I mean, obviously it can't feel good, but at the same time, when you're him and have that
Seven-time world
record,
champion. Yeah.
you can very clearly just shove that down their fucking throats if anybody says anything, you know. So it sucks, but you know, at the very least, he's got the record that, you know, backs up anything.
People say all the time online that he's not that successful.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's like
That is incorrect.
a common theme.
That is grossly incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's steer back towards the rest of the NASCAR news, and then we'll get to the rest
Honestly,
of the show.
not a lot of it.
No.
It was a pretty quiet week for silly season, other than the fact that Cole Custer is going back to Haas.
Which isn't a surprise at all. I think we all kind of saw that coming, and good for Cole. I mean, Cole's good. He's clearly had a good year last year. He's having a decent season this year. You know, he's a good driver. Seems like a good dude. You know, I hope that works out for him. You know, they're going to have an RFK alliance, which will be helpful, I'm sure, because RFK has been, you know, you look at what's been going on with Rick Ware and how Justin Haley's done magic with that team this year, and I'm sure working with those guys will be very helpful for a single car team. So good for him.
Big surprise out of that is Haley Deegan maybe getting a ride in the Xfinity Series too with Stewart Haas. So,
which is insane, but I mean, if she's going to bring sponsorship money, then I'm sure that probably answers that question as to why she's even getting that look. But who knows if that'll actually come to fruition? But we'll see what happens.
Question: does
yes.
NASCAR like Gene Haas?
I don't. I mean, he's been in NASCAR for 30 years, so they can't hate him.
Some of the some of the complaints that people in the Formula One world are like, I don't know if complaints is the right word, but some of the attitude towards Gene that he receives from the Formula One fans doesn't seem to transfer over into the NASCAR world as much. And I think I just
think it's funny that he can't go to most of the races.
Yeah,
because he's a convicted felon.
It's true.
And he's not allowed in those countries.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He has a different reputation in the Formula One paddock for sure.
He fits right in.
And then a few years ago, they took on a big Russian sponsor.
Yeah, there's the National Oil Company, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Mazepins.
Yep.
And the son was absolutely awful. Like, a horrible person and driver.
Yep.
And then when Russia invaded Ukraine, all of their assets were seized because they are like very close friends with Putin. And Formula One had to ban them.
Yeah, but Haas kept the money, so.
They did, but if you've ever seen that season of Drive to Survive, every time the father would yell at Gunther Steiner, he would be like shaking. Because this is a man that could, like, actually hurt him.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, that influence doesn't stretch to the NASCAR world.
Interesting.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Tony Stewart was also involved.
Yeah, I feel like he was more so the face of that team for us.
Is Tony just the one that didn't want to be involved anymore?
Yeah, he's too busy being married and running a top fuel dragster and just kind of
making babies,
doing everything
at old age.
Yeah.
I mean, the team has been on the decline. He's had numerous issues with NASCAR over the years, so
I think he's over it.
I think just over it.
Imagine the way we all felt at the end of the Brickyard 400 times 1,000. I imagine that's Tony Stewart's brain. Disappointed.
Not to mention, I feel like there's probably something to do too with, I know he was rumored to be bringing Dodge back to NASCAR, and that didn't go through. And who knows? Maybe if that panned out, maybe he'd still be sticking around. Who knows? But I mean, there's just so many factors.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's also fine if he just didn't want to do it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done it all.
Yeah.
He's selling his
live
big
in somewhat
house
peace.
too, which
He
is a
is
shame.
selling his big house.
So again, we're looking for investors. So Stacy, if you're interested, the three of us, we're trying to collect money so we can buy this
For the house?
For the house, yeah.
Well, I actually have an inn, so
Oh shit!
yeah. The Hoosier representative for our area is one of Tony's good friends.
Good. Well, I've got about $150 to put down on
Yeah,
the
I
down
got like
payment.
70.
Let me make a credit card payment and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
I just got a crisp $20 bill on my birthday card, so
Nice.
slide that in there.
I think that we could do it, guys.
Yeah,
I can text him
definitely.
like right now.
We can at least buy
think we
tickets
can
for
buy
the tour.
mailbox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I doubt that. That thing is probably more expensive than my fucking house. So
Yeah.
So what the hell? I'm trying to think. What else was there to talk about?
well, Kyle Busch went on Pat McAfee and talked a bunch of
Yes.
shit. That was really funny.
That was
Yep.
great.
Yeah, he does not
Loved
like
everything
Ricky
about that.
Stenhouse. Really doesn't like Corey LaJoy.
Who does?
But who does?
Either
yeah.
of those.
So
Neither one.
Well, some people like Stenhouse, but nobody likes LaJoy.
yeah.
So
I don't mind.
there's
I don't
that.
mind
do
Ricky.
people like-
but-
It's
do
so
people-
funny.
I
My
don't like
mom
Stenhouse.
passionately hates him because he dated Danica Patrick.
oh yeah, that didn't bother me as
That
much.
feels
but-
like a pretty
Is,
good
is your mom a Danica fan? Like, what's?
No, she
what's-
hates him because she hates Danica.
oh.
So once they
So
started
guilty by
dating, she was
association.
like, yes, because the like aliens things. Like
She wasn't.
lizard
To give
people.
her to give her credit though, she wasn't into the lizard people stuff. At least publicly back then, she was just a shitty driver.
publicly.
Yeah.
Public lizard
But like the
enthusiast.
signs were all there, and I actually heard from someone who will remain nameless that knew her, that she was not a nice person. And I heard a story from one of my like short track friends about how she was at one of the races they were at, and all these little girls kept coming up to her, and she was like refusing to sign autographs for them.
That's a common
Yeah.
tale. I've heard that before.
Sounds
I
about right.
believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we are definitely not Danica fans on this show.
Yeah.
So,
And I assume Kyle Busch isn't either, but he didn't mention her by name on Pat McAfee. But that was really funny. I recommend checking that video out. Brandon Jones embarrassed himself on TikTok by doing a dance. That was terrible. Whoever sent
that
that
was
to the
weird.
chat, why'd you do
I
that?
did. That was me.
Thanks, Brian.
The fine tradition of Brian
Hey.
upsetting me with videos.
Hey, if I gotta see it, you guys gotta see it. Simple as
He's
that.
been sending me a lot of the weird stuff too, guys, so you're not alone.
Yeah.
It's
We can get a
it's-
class
I don't know.
action
Support
suit
group.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody
I
talks
sent
about
him a
all
lot
the
of weird things too.
yeah. Everybody talks about all the hot topics and shit all the time. I like to find the weird things that don't make any sense or weird or creepy or whatever. Like that's interesting to me. So if I see some weird TikTok bullshit with Brandon Jones sticking his ass in the camera, yeah, you guys are gonna see it. So sorry.
Thanks. And
and
other
then-
Brandon news. We finally
Yeah,
get
it's
to
the next-
retire the phrase "Let's go, Brandon." So that's
Thank God.
Unless you're a Brandon Overton fan, he's been selling T-shirts with that. But
in
he's
NASCAR.
yeah.
There's a man that's suing Joe Biden because he has all this merch he can't sell
is that
now.
real? Is that real? Because I could not
I don't know. I
find
saw it
that
on
actual.
Twitter. It's probably real, right? Sometimes I
mean,
I wouldn't put
trick
it past
myself.
someone that's trying to make a living off those T-shirts doing that.
Well, they got money, so Godspeed, sir.
I live in a very heavy red area, and like the flags I see, it's just constant. There's one house that we drive by on the way to like some clients up north, and it has, I'm not kidding you, like probably 12 different flags. Like fuck Joe Biden, Trump flag, Confederate flag in upstate New York.
oh yeah.
That's always funny to me. Yeah.
Like all of them. He's got all of them. And he's right on the main street up there. The
What if they got-
Confederate flags make me
what if they got like
confused,
a
though.
deal at a store?
maybe.
The old Dollar
You
General.
got it from the Let's Go Brandon store that's going out of
Yeah.
business.
In Branson, Missouri. So
Yeah.
I will say one positive thing about Kyle Larson winning on Sunday
Oh.
is that we got to see RJ kiss his mom's carpet for Rob.
Well, yeah, he had a brick. He had like one brick in his house, so
pulled it right out of the
Pulled it right out of the
right out of the
fireplace.
garden. Yeah. Dirtied up his mom's Berber carpet. Yeah. Yeah. I'm all for it. It's a big tent. Everyone's welcome. But if he could stay a Chase Elliott fan, that would be great. Thanks.
Well, too late.
well, he had to move over to Larson, so
Yeah.
because Larson was winning.
I am on your
Follow the
side. Not that
garden
my
boy.
opinion matters, Rob.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it does very much. So.
Oh, Ash, Stacy, do you know who RJ is?
No.
Okay, I will send you
Brian
some
will send
stuff.
you a video.
Yeah.
I'll send you some stuff. Let's just say, so RJ. We'll say RJ is a
Enthusiastic Hendrick Motorsports fan.
very enthusiastic Hendrick fan who pours soda all over his head anytime one of the
He's got
drivers
3
wins.
teeth in his head.
And sometimes
It's not
those
his
videos, sometimes the video is in his shower with his sex toy in the shot of him pouring soda all over himself. So yeah, he's a special.
It's a very
Can't wait
Tolkien-esque
to learn
universe. Yeah, there's a lot to dive into.
But I.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It probably was
No, go.
pointless.
No.
Oh, just I'm sorry. It seems like this might be against the grain, but I hate Chase Elliott with a passion. And
My dog.
Cat fight.
I know.
My
know.
dog.
I don't have the strength to argue after suffering through a Kyle
won't-
Larson win.
I won't argue with you. I don't even really have a good reason why. He just seems to have a punchable face. And like when they said that he was, what is he, like the fan favorite?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
very confused.
Well, he's okay. So
It's like you're reading my diary out loud. This is amazing.
We can explain this. So it ties into the Dawsonville thing because Bill Elliott was always the most popular driver, but that's because
I met Bill Elliott.
well, yeah, you met that makes sense. But the reason why he was always the most popular driver is because the Dawsonville fan contingent like put on like campaigns and stuff and like came together every year for the votes. So like that same sort of crowd has kind of, you know, obviously migrated over to Chase. And
Yeah, if you liked somebody from the old days or were seeking a connection, especially once Dale Jr. Retired, everyone kind of went to
R.I.P.
Chase because he, R.I.P. in peace. Chase took all those fans, so it makes sense to me. But I don't
See,
yeah.
it doesn't to me, and again, I only have like my family as a basis, but my mom, who was not opinionated at all, was always like, Bill would never act the way that he would. She's like, I don't understand why people like him from his family because he would never act like that.
Act like what?
I don't know if it's like the cocky, I don't know. But she and my grandma were always very like passionately hating people, and I loved it. It was great. But
That's interesting. I always thought that Chase was pretty similar to his dad.
He
their
is.
I've
I've met him several
Well-
times. He's very humble, very down to earth.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know.
He's
Sue
just a
Joy
quiet
says
guy.
that's not true.
I
said, I don't have a reason, so I could be incorrect. That's
Yeah,
just
well,
the vibe I get.
You are
not-
talking to somebody who lives in that area also. So she
Yeah.
gotta give
20 minutes
Ashley
from
some credit
Dawsonville.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, and I don't want her to hate me. So
I don't hate you.
She's just very disappointed.
The only
That's
hatred I have is for Kyle Larson in my heart. So
Well, this will bring your mood up, True Love. I didn't really have much of a DARF of the week this week, and pretty much everyone's already seen this. But Kyle Larson and our other favorite driver, Harrison Burton, they signed somebody's dentures during the driver walk at Indianapolis. So that's gross. Don't do that. Whoever did that,
I
don't
would
do it.
vomit.
That's disgusting.
very confused as to why they asked Harrison Burton.
Yeah, probably because he was just there.
He was just there.
Maybe. Yeah.
They like asked Kyle Larson, but Harrison was standing directly next to him, and they were like, "Well,
Yeah, you want to sign him too?" So yeah, somebody's riding around with Sharpie in their mouth right now. And again, like, there's no punishment. The punishment has been inflicted on yourself. Don't put markers in your mouth. That's my dart for the week.
I want to go sideways on that a little bit, but when Lewis Hamilton announced he was going to Ferrari, he started signing Ferrari hats because everyone was like, well, I'm not going to buy Mercedes merch anymore. And then rumor is he got in trouble for signing Ferrari hats because then he had to start saying in front of fans, like, oh, no Ferrari hats. And then he would just sign them anyway.
That's awesome.
Because he is also like, basically he wanted to become a Mercedes ambassador, and he wanted a 3-year contract, and Mercedes said no. That's why he left.
Jesus, why?
They wanted to push him out so they did a 2-year contract, but it was actually a 1+1.
Oh, okay.
And at the end of this season, they could have released him with no warning, and he would have been without a seat. So instead, he released himself, and they were like, oh my god, why would he do such a thing? But they wanted to push him into retirement for like the new younger drivers.
Right, yeah. That's insane to me. But I mean, Lewis has always been ahead of the game when it comes to finding a new ride. Like, when he went to Mercedes, everyone was scratching their heads, and look how that turned out. So
Yeah, and Ferrari gave him whatever he wants. They also are creating I don't know, some sort of scheme business type thing to inject like $400 million into his nonprofits.
Jesus Christ.
So anyway, that reminded me because for a while he was like, oh, I can't sign Ferrari hats.
Yeah. Can't sign
And then like
dentures.
Toto would drive by.
Can't sign your Ferrari dentures.
I should get a pair made.
You should.
So
Someone was supposed to be looking for Ferrari merch for me, but
I'm supposed to do that now? I haven't found anything good Ferrari in a minute, so
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out. So before we get into the septic tank, though, there's one other thing that just came out a couple hours ago.
Breaking news.
Landon Castle.
Joe Biden has. Go ahead.
Landon Castle, he was talking at some podcast or something about.
he has his own with Parker.
Okay, well,
Some podcast.
I've only listened to one episode. It was the one where they talked about Zins, but. So he in all this discussion about the charter agreement stuff, this is kind of an out of context quote, but he said NASCAR is not making you hire 100 engineers. NASCAR is not making you rent private jets. NASCAR is not making you spend $250,000 on a pit box. This is in regards to how much money some of these teams spend, obviously, and. I don't know. We all know Landon does not have the best history when it comes to financial decisions. If you look at his, his crypto choices when it comes to being paid in crypto by a company that went out of business immediately.
Yeah, that was a bad call.
And for him to talk about how teams should run their business is kind of out of pocket a bit. But Stacy, however, you knew Landon a little bit, didn't you? So tell us about that.
Well, we had a NASCAR modified race when we owned the Speedway. I was either like 15 or 16 at the time. And I was sitting in the control tower, and there was this like emo looking kid, and I was like, I want to meet him. And this woman turned around and she was like, oh, that's Landon. He's awesome. And so after the race, she took me down and we met. And then we hung out that night. And then the next day, he was like, we're going to pick you up and go out to lunch. And we went to Ruby Tuesdays, which was like the only real restaurant in Oswego.
Nice.
Yeah.
The salad bar?
Yeah. Yep. And
Fuck yeah.
then we kissed in his motorhome in the Walmart parking lot.
Very romantic.
Yes.
Yes,
yes.
maybe this is why he's so adverse to
Was
it.
he?
Yeah, seriously, that's a good question.
He like
just has
he
swoopy
had long
hair,
hair at the
swoopy
time,
bangs.
and then his first question to me was, "What kind of music do you listen to?"
Oh,
And so I don't know. He was like a 16-year-old indie kid, but we did keep in touch for a while. When he went back to Iowa. But the funniest part of all of this is that his family has a private plane
yeah.
that, like, sometimes he'd call me and he'd be like, not sometimes, one time he called me and he's like, well, we wanted to, like, do something, so my dad flew to the Mall of America, but like, I'm driving.
That sounds like it
there
was
to meet
AI
them.
generated. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I was like a girl living in Oswego, New York, and I was like, what is the difference? Because it's funny, you know, Syracuse, New York has like our main airport.
Right.
And so when I met him, he was like, I have to get to the Fulton Airport. And I was like, there is not a Fulton Airport. Like, I'm sorry. And there is, it's just a private airport for like, but I was not rich, so I like didn't know it existed. But his dad flew into the Fulton Airport for the race.
Interesting turn of events, Landon. Your move, bud.
Yeah.
Take it back.
He's No, he actually tweeted again. I just saw that.
Oh.
A huge long paragraph about it.
Yeah,
Because Denny
read-
replied to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I read that myself, and he kind of, I don't want to say walked back what he said, but he tried to like elaborate. Well, if your, you know, technical support and your technical support and your, you know, the sponsorship money, if they pull out, then you're screwed. And it's like, dude, come on, like. Everybody knows how NASCAR, everybody knows how motorsports works. Like, once you get to a certain level, you have to spend more to actually win. And there's a reason why all these teams are spending these millions and millions of dollars. And there's a reason why you have not accomplished anything because you don't drive for any of those teams.
I would argue that
Same stats as Corey LaJoy.
Very nice. Our resident statistician Ashley Truelove with the good numbers over here.
LaJoy's statistic.
I would argue that travel costs and accommodations and all that kind of stuff are probably it's a big part of the expense of running a race team. But I feel like, especially in NASCAR, that might not be the first place you want to start cutting expenses for teams. Just my opinion, but
Yeah.
I also, how do I say this? To my knowledge and from what I would gather, he has not lived a normal experience in life.
No.
there was a jet
So-
involved, so yeah, I would assume that might be the
It's
case.
like totally like he's always had a backup plan in terms of like a family. So I don't know. It's kind of weird to say that like things are too expensive because
Yeah,
like
you can say what you want about Denny, but he did come from the bottom. Like, his family had no money. Like, he was just a redneck kid from Virginia, and he's made it to where he's
We've
at.
all seen his dad on Netflix.
Yeah, that's
So,
oh my god,
that man does not own a jet.
He does not.
like they flew to Austria to do like the real Iron Man race.
Jesus.
He and his dad.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin's dad didn't do that.
No. My dad did not do that.
I just bought a rental car with points on my credit card, and I feel like the richest I've ever been in my fucking life. So
You know what?
different strokes.
What's it called? Sorry, my brain just stopped working. We one time rented a Prius,
Oh yeah,
and it was the smartest decision we've ever made.
dude, you save so much money on gas. It's unbelievable.
And so now we do it every time that I travel with my friends. But one time it was also a brand new Prius. It had like 0 miles on it.
Nice.
So it was clean and like $20.
Amazing. Yeah, I got given one of those at a rental counter. I think it was like last year, And I walked up there. I'd reserved something else, and the lady was like, "Oh, we don't have a car ready for you unless you want a Prius." And she just kind of looked me up and down like I'd be offended, and I was just like, "Give me the fucking Prius. I need to get out of this race." And again, I was pleasantly surprised with how much money I did not spend on gas. So, good stuff.
Well, with that, it looks like it's time to move on to the septic tank, and I guess we'll start with the Oswego race on Friday. It was my first time going there for the asphalt races. I was at Super Dirt last year, but I have no idea what I watched, but it was cool. That
was your first super modified race?
I mean, no. I've been to super modified races here in Ohio, but it was my first one with that many cars. The only ones I've been to here have had like 10 cars in the features, not even. So,
it was a good field.
It was good racing. I will say that I think I am Johnny Benson's bad luck charm, because now I have been to two super modified races, and both of them he's had issues. So I feel really bad about that because I love Johnny Benson, and I wish I got to see him do better. But sorry, Johnny
Benson.
She loves Johnny a bit more than me. Yeah.
I think that he actually didn't do well last time he was at Oswego. So it might just be the track, but he's still like in the top 5 for that championship that they're doing. So, or the challenge.
Well,
they're doing like a winged versus non-winged challenge for certain drivers.
Oh shit!
At different tracks, like throughout. It's like ISMA and Oswego. So, it's like a separate purse and everything.
That's cool. Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely some old timers out there. Joe Gosek was there. That's always cool to see old 00 Joe.
Gosek.
Yeah, Gosek. Did I say it wrong? See, I grew up watching the IRL, so I never learned how to say his name.
As far as the actual racing itself, I mean, like I said, it was cool. I don't have a whole lot to report as far as what I saw. I mean, it was just neat. Those cars are wild to see in person. Yeah. The one thing that I guess we did want to talk about was the fire with what's his first name? Otto is his last name, but
no, Otto's his first name.
Oh,
Otto Sitterly.
Okay, Otto Sitterly. So this guy,
that was fucked up.
His car just caught on fire in the middle of the straightaway, and it stopped right in front of where we were sitting, and it took way too long to get him out of the car. Like, you'd figure fire crews and safety people would be right on the thing as soon as he stopped, but it was like we were watching. It was almost like slow motion. He's like trying to get out of the car, and the car's still on fire. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? So, Stacy, give us some more insight.
Yeah, that was like a one-off because the track safety crew at Oswego takes it very seriously. Like, they're all either EMTs or on the fire department, and they do. Like, we were one of the first tracks to implement them wearing like fire suits in the area. And they're usually great. I think their main concern was, so obviously his engine was on fire. Something punched a hole in the motor and caught on fire. However, methanol burns clear.
Right, yeah.
So I think that they were like, if the methanol's on fire, we can't just like go in there.
Right.
However, sitting there as a fan, you saw Otto stop, try to get out of the car. He tripped on his seatbelts, and then his feet got stuck in like the roll cage. So he's hanging upside down while the car's on fire. And so I literally screamed. I was like, help him. And other people started screaming, and then they finally helped him. And he did have second-degree burns. I wish I had taken a picture of his fire suit, but I thought that would be kind of weird to ask. But there was something like next to him, one of the exhausts or something, that the metal was like on fire, and so it burned right into his thigh.
Oh God.
And then on the fire suit too, you can see like the orange where it burned, and then you can see one part where you can see the white inside of like.
So it was like down to the bottom layer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucked.
I will say, for a guy who had those types of burns, you couldn't tell when he was getting out of the car and just walking around. Like, he looked like he was fine.
Yeah. Like he cheered for like everyone cheered for him, but they did keep the ambulance next to his car until the end of the night, which I noticed, but I didn't want to freak myself out. And he ended up going to one of the burn units in Syracuse, and they like cleaned it and dressed it. And I talked to him the next day, and I was like, did you ask the doctor if you could race today? And he was like, yeah. And I looked at him, and he's like, I said, can I race? And he said yes. And I don't know if he thought I was kidding, but I wasn't. So
fucking racers, man.
He got home from the hospital at 4:30 in the morning, and then he raced, and I think he ended up 6th in the non-winged super feature.
Fuck yeah, that's tough business right there. I love that.
He is. He's broken his jaw before racing. He's a really tough guy.
That's a tough racetrack too. I mean, I know you know this. You've been there your entire life, but man, that is a unforgiving. You wreck hard at Oswego.
Brother has broken 3 appendages at the track and his back.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. I mean, you don't want to let injuries get in the way of that type of shit. I mean, I remember last year when I did the thing at Lebanon Valley driving the modified, like, I broke my nose the week before, and like, I'm not gonna fucking tell anybody that. Like, what if they don't let me get in the car? Like, nah, fuck that. I'm just gonna do it. So tell us a little bit about Saturday then too, because obviously you were there for that, and I caught a little bit of it on Flow, but I still don't know anything about those cars.
So Friday was a rain date. It was a race that was supposed to happen, I believe, Memorial Day weekend, and so they made it a double header. So Friday night was the winged race, and then Saturday was like typical Saturday night at the track, which has the regular super modified, and then there is a class called the small block super modifieds, and then there is the 350 super modifieds, which are winged constantly, just with a smaller engine. So anyone that raced Friday night and then also raced Saturday night was given an additional $1,000, just like right from the start, because some teams that have more money, like, they just have 2 separate cars, but other teams had to turn their car over overnight and switch it from like winged to non-winged. So yeah, it was actually the race on Saturday. Tyler Thompson, who you liked on Friday, Brian, he was in 2nd, and on the turn 3 of the last lap, he passed DJ Schulich for the win. So that was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got to get up there at some point.
Well, there's a weekend with modifieds and super modifieds.
It's true. That's coming up. You said Labor Day weekend, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a 200 lap race.
Hell yeah.
For the supers. That's the only race of the season that they have to like plan for fuel or add a second fuel system, because they're not really able to pit.
Right, yeah. You don't want people with jugs of methanol doing live pit stops.
No, and one of my friends has lost, I think the last 2 years in a row, has run out of fuel on the last lap and lost the race because of it.
Jesus.
Crazy.
Nah, that's a bummer. But but yeah, maybe I'll try and come up for that. I went to a modified race as well. I was at Monadnock over the weekend. Not too much to report for that. Trevor Catalano got his first Wheel and Modified Tour win, 17 years old, beating the best in the business right now, Ron Silk. That was a killer race on Flow. And Monadnock is such a sweet little quarter-mile racetrack. I think it's a quarter mile. If it's bigger than that, it's only by a few inches, that's for sure. But they've really done a nice job overhauling that facility and kind of bringing it into the modern age. It's a great place to go, except for the fact they only have one chicken tender stand now, which was kind of a bummer. But they used to have one right next to the beer stand, and that worked out just fine for me. But this year there was only one, but whatever. The only other thing worth noting, which if you check out local late model guy Corey Casagrande on Twitter, he posted a nice little analysis of this. There was a sport truck race where there was a father and son. I don't know their names. I didn't catch that. I didn't do that much research. I'm not very good at this. So but the son was racing on the inside line, kind of caught the curb, slid up the track, and wrecked his dad. And in response, his dad just floored it off the top of the banking and completely destroyed both of their trucks in retaliation. So yeah, a little father on son short track violence on a Saturday night at Monadnock.
Why?
Yeah, it was real dumb. Yeah. Because his truck was okay until he decided to, add some extra work for the weekends, knock the radiator out of both of them.
Like you're punishing yourself twice.
Yeah, now you got to fix 2 engines. So.
Yeah.
But that was real dumb, but it was really funny. A little bit of Bowman Gray at home here.
My favorite part about that was that the dad, his truck number was 83 and the son's number was 14.
Yeah.
And people on Twitter thinking that was the ages that they were reporting.
Could have been.
Honestly, not everyone should be able to hit send tweet.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, a great night in Monadnock. The weather was beautiful, and again, it was a packed house. And JDV Productions is the company that's running the shows there. And I believe at Winchester and White Mountain as well. There's a couple other tracks in New Hampshire they're doing good work at, getting the Granite State Cup together and all that good stuff. So shout out to them for putting on yet another good event. I look forward to going up there as soon as I can. I imagine it'll be the next NASCAR modified show they have there in September. But that was my big weekend out at the racetrack, and I missed the Xfinity race for that, which going to a racetrack is better than watching it on TV any day of the week. But there was some other shit that went down. We're now in the short track septic tank, by the way. All 4 of us are crammed in here, and we are going to talk about short track racing really quickly here so we can talk about Oswego some more and the videos of the week. Of course, this weekend, the big show was happening at Eldora, the King's Royal and the Joker's Jackpot, a little dual high-limit World of Outlaws show. It was incredible how World of Outlaws was able to dance around actually mentioning the name of the high-limit series, but still being able to say that David Gravel won $100,000 at it. That was kind of fun to watch. They really, really don't like each other. David Gravel won pretty much all the money there was to win. I think his total take between winning the King's Royal and the Joker's Jackpot was $275,000. That'll buy you a lot of shit. Toy train sets, T-shirts, Dodge Vipers, whatever the fuck he's into. And also, Donnie Schatz put on a show every single night of the week. I think that's to be expected from him. Hasn't had the best run as of late. I think a lot of people are starting to write him off just a little bit, but he's managed to find some speed in the World of Outlaws, and he didn't actually have a good start on any of the nights. He was always starting the feature in the 20s, but every night he'd make it up towards the front. And he led for a good portion of the King's Royal, and David Gravel just got the better of him right towards the end. Incredible race, so congrats to David Gravel. Also, shout out to Shark Racing for putting 2 really fast race cars out there. Luck just didn't go their way, but Jacob Allen had a fast piece, and Logan Schuhart's always fast at Eldora. So, again, hell of a show. Speaking of sprint cars, Corey Day is going to make his first ARCA start coming up at Salem. So, yeah, there you go. Hopefully he doesn't get his body destroyed by, I don't know, what's an ARCA driver? Pick one. It doesn't matter. One of the Venturini guys. Who's the guy? Hangarani? The one who... Yeah, probably him. Yeah. Yeah, Corey Day making his first foray into the asphalt world. That'll be something to watch to see how he does there. Lucas Oil Late Models, Deb Moran got a big check at the Silver Dollar Nationals at Huset's. Bobby Pierce continued his winning ways up until Deb Moran shut him down on Saturday night. And yeah, Bobby Pierce is probably the best late model driver in the country right now. Both Hudson O'Neal and RTJ had rough weekends. They weren't slow, but they're top 10-ish, which is not what you expect out of either of them. Over in the pavement world, I think probably the biggest race of the weekend was the Hampton Heat 200, which took about 15 hours to finish. I think it finished at 3 a.m. I fell asleep on my couch, so I'm reading what I read about this race right now. Butterbean Queen got the win over Connor Hall. They both managed to piss off Peyton Sellers, and Dale Jr. got a top 5. So apparently it was pretty good. But I didn't watch it because I was at the racetrack all day, and I got home and had a few beers and fell asleep. So that's the short track septic tank. And I guess we won't climb out just yet because we are going to talk some more short track racing here because our videos of the week prominently feature Oswego Speedway and some stories from our special guest. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of Meet Me at Applebee's. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday for part 2 of our conversation with Stacy Gioia. And also, please do yourself a favor and check out our YouTube playlist. The Video of the Week playlist has the videos we'll be heavily talking about next week. Can't recommend it enough. Please do so. Until then, please be safe. We love you very much. We'll see you next week.